Wait for this next segment. You're going to love it. I'm walking along the nickel plate railroad tracks that were originally laid here in 1849. And since the 1990s, the Indiana Transportation Museum has been operating public excursions. But now these tracks are in jeopardy of being ripped out. However, one man went on a mission to save these historic rails, and in the process, he gathered up 12,000 signatures in support of his efforts. Come on, let's go meet him. We are standing literally on top of the nickel plate railroad tracks in Fishers, Indiana.
Yeah.
It's amazing. These are historic tracks, is that correct?
They are. The Nickel Plate Railroad actually has been in place since it started construction in 1849.
1849, they started building these tracks right here.
Yep, started in Indianapolis and made their way to Noblesville in 1851.
So the tracks go all the way from Noblesville to where? All the way down to like Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, the corridor goes all the way to Indianapolis. The tracks stop, I want to say somewhere in the 23rd Street area, but yeah, it's a long corridor, almost 40 miles.
And from what I understand, people take this train back and forth to the Indiana State Fair, right? Is that correct?
They did, yeah. So currently it does not operate anymore, but they would use it for the fair train and other excursions throughout the year.
Wow, and a Polar Express too, right? Kids,
Yeah.
I mean, apparently like thousands of kids would get on this train and take trips and meet Santa and sing carols and all kinds of stuff. Is that correct?
Yes, it was quite a magical event, and there were other excursions outside of that, but this was such an asset to the community when it operated as a train. It had a lot of benefit to the people that came and rode it.
And now, suddenly, out of the blue, they want to rip these tracks out of here.
They do, and they is a loose term, right?
Okay.
So
Proverbial day.
the
right?
proverbial day. What it boils down to is this is a political policy decision that they would prefer, they being the politicians, would prefer to see a trail here instead of a railroad for whatever the reason. We've yet to get that out, but they enacted, and I'll say perpetrated, some plans to cause this all to come through to fruition.
Wow, that's amazing. And they want to rip out historic tracks that mean so much to so many people. Not only the Indiana State Fair people, but the kids and the Polar Bear Express. It's amazing. Well, what really amazes me is the fact that you and you alone decided to take on a mission of sorts to actually save the nickel plate. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I can't say that I can take all of the credit for this whole project. Right now we're at over 12,000 people who came together and signed a petition.
Wow.
People from all across the country, but the bulk of those were right here from around Indianapolis, Fishers, Noblesville area that said, we don't want that track removed. Whatever you do, keep that in place. That is a valuable asset. But yeah, Save the Nickel Plate formed and advocated, and we still are, but for over 2 years now, I was kind of a central figure in helping that out and just being a voice for the people. That's all I was doing. I wanted to be a voice for the concerns that they had for this project.
Well, that's really great, because I do think that people need a voice, and obviously, apparently, certain powers to be weren't really hearing that voice.
And they're still not. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, the tragedy about all of this really is that people who think back to when this all started will recognize that we were told the tracks were unsafe, and that's why this all had to stop. What's most concerning about this is this precedent that's been set where they said the tracks were unsafe, but we have 5 FRA inspections from the Federal Railroad Administration, which all say no violations. And then a private inspection, which on the first page out of 45 says this is one of the best 40-mile stretches of railroad this consultant has seen with regards to drainage, track, and everything. So how did we end up at a place where we still don't have a train because the tracks were unsafe?
How did we end up
I
that?
don't know.
So you volunteered your time to do this, is that correct? Because you're a small business owner right here in Fishers, right?
Yeah.
You own your own business.
Yeah, so I I own Navigrade Consulting, and we
Uh-huh.
do small nonprofit consulting, operational, strategic planning, things like that.
Wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
at the same time, you have a wife and a family, your kids. Well, your wife, Kathleen, tell us about her.
Yeah, so I have wife Kathleen, a daughter, or two daughters, Isabel and Adeline. My wife actually is in the architecture field. She works with a wonderful firm in Indianapolis, and yeah, we live here in Fishers, and we're both very active within our local and regional communities.
Well, you're really a local hero because not only are you busy enough during the day with your business, but you volunteer your time for these community-minded projects that are of really great concern to the public. And clearly, when you have 12,000 plus people signing a petition, I mean, I think that says everything. And that really should, make a mark with people because it does speak the will of the people. And I think that's important.
I think that the big problem here is that we have an elected government that has their vision of Fishers that they're carrying out despite the will of the people. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. I've met with 5 or 6 different residents today, all of whom are the first ones to say that to me is, we don't have an opportunity to participate in this. They're not listening to us. So, I think that fundamentally that is the first and most important aspect of being a servant as a leader in a community. An elected leader is listening to your people, inviting them to come in and play a part in the vision and the direction of your community, and that's what I want to bring.
Right, and you say the word servant, a community servant, and really, let's face it, we need that more across the board, I think, not only in our
Yes.
local communities, but really in the national scene as well,
Certainly.
where the people who represent us, who work for us as citizens in a democracy, actually represent the voice and the will of the people.
Yeah.
Through fair representation. So I think it's really amazing that you own a business, you hold down the fort with a family and kids, which is awesome. And maybe we should have them on sometime. That'd be kind of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
be fun.
And you volunteer your time and your efforts for Save the Train, Save the Nickel Plate, which I think is a really, literally almost an heroic thing. We're really glad you're doing this.
Well,
I can tell you on behalf of many people who were not really happy about the fact that they wanted to rip these trains out. They're really very, very happy that you're doing this. So I think you're speaking for a lot of people when you do it.
Well, it's my honor and my privilege. It truly is.
You're a busy guy. There's no doubt about that. So you need a breath right now. Take a breath because we're all behind you. Logan, I can't thank you enough for being here.
I appreciate it.
Great, Logan.
Awesome.
Let's go have a cup of coffee.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks much.